Hey, it's Laniustron. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to walk across the Mojave and let beat falloutnewvegas with minimal effort, while someone else does all the heavy lifting for you? Have? Oh, that's just wonderful. But what about the Raul? Can he beat falloutnewvegas? Let's find out. First things first, the name of this run will be NPRC, which stands for Non-Playable Raul Companion. Next, we create someone truly worth having as a companion. Beautiful. Now let's move on to the stats. Strength 1, Perception 1, Endurance 7, Charisma 10, it helps companions so maxing it out is a no-brainer. Intelligence 10, useful for extra points when leveling up. Agility 1, and Luck 10, we are definitely going to need it. My skills here are quite simple. Speech for passing speed checks, Raul can't handle. Sneak because at the time I thought maybe I could hide while Raul went out, boy was I wrong. And Survival for the Travel Light perk. As for my initial perks, I chose Good Nature for boost anything that didn't involve killing people and Hoarder, because technically I'm the one being the companion this time around. While I loot every single item that Mitch has to his name and make my way to Black Mountain, what about some rules? First, no killing. I'm not allowed to kill anyone. If I engage in combat, Raul must do all the shooting. Second, I can only interact with people if it's mandatory, or if the game forces me to. The sole exception here is Raul's quest. And third, I'm not allowed to talk to vendors. This means I can't buy upgrades at the clinic or even purchase Steam packs. In other words, every Steam pack I used during this playthrough either came with DLC content or was scavenged along the way. Now let's get back to the game. I grabbed the holotape and with some clever positioning, I managed to enter the station. Then I grabbed the key and went back in again. I began sneaking around to avoid being spotted by the mutants. As for the password for Raul, it's quite a challenge, so grab a pen and paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And there he is, the ghoul of the hour, the MVP of this run, Raul. The first thing I did was set Raul to be a little more aggressive. And now, the moment of truth. Could Raul survive the wastes? Well, yeah, kinda. Raul is my favorite companion in falloutnewvegas, but the man can be an idiot. Instead of shooting his way out, he decided to follow my example and just run. Yay! I died for the first time. On my second try, Raul seemed a little more enthusiastic about killing mutants, or at least I think so. Here's the funny thing about companions. Assuming you're not playing on hardcore mode, if they get knocked out unconscious and you enter a new door, they'll reset right next to you. So that's nice. I was determined to stay until Raul killed all the mutants. We went upstairs where Raul got into a better position and I almost died. Not giving up, I went back in, though I might have miscalculated something because a Night King decided to one-shot me. Damn. On our third attempt, things went much smoother. Raul was far more dedicated to fighting and we scored the win. Now with the blood in his eyes, Raul finally fought his way down the mountain. You might notice me running around like a headless chicken. That's something I'd be doing a lot. Despite Raul's good damage and solid aim, I could just fully rely on him. You'll see what I mean later. When I finally hit level 2, I allocated most of my points to sneak, speech and survival. You'll notice me putting points into luck because, well, I decided to do that because I remember Lucky, the revolver at the Bison's teeth. I figured I could grab it and give it to Raul for better damage. My perk at this level was Swift Learner. Raul killed most of the mutants, so I was racking up decent experience points to level up. At level 4, I increased Lockpick, which definitely came in handy, as well as Sneak and Speech. Because I had already hit 45 in Survival at level 3, not showing the footage, I was able to take the Travel Light perk at level 4. Since we were already there, Raul and I decided to head to the substation and mark it on the map for later. The reason we didn't return to Good Springs was simple. Raul can't complete the tutorial. So we went to Novak instead, where we talked to Ranger Andy, the first of 3 stops to complete Raul's quest. Raul's quest is quite interesting. All we have to do is visit 3 different elderly individuals across the Mojave. Despite their age, these individuals contribute to their communities whenever they can. The old passing knowledge to the next generation and all that. After each encounter, Raul shares a bit of his past, which is fascinating by the way. Oh, and before leaving Andy's place, I grabbed the DC medical book for later. As soon as Raul finished telling me his main character backstory, we headed to Camp McCarry to find the next piece of the puzzle. But before I got there, we were ambushed on the road, and I stopped at the Eldorado gas station to look for supplies. And I marked the 188 trading post on the map before continuing to McCarry. At Camp McCarry, Corporal Sterling, the second part of Raul's quest, shares some of his past service as a ranger. And since we were already in the area, we decided to take the McCarry Express into the strip. And I should have seen that coming. Well, nothing can do about it now, I guess. While there, the game forced me into two conversations. First was with an NCR soldier, which I forgot to include in the footage, and second was with Victor, who told Raul to head to the Lucky 38. We didn't follow his suggestion. Instead, we took the route through Freeside to visit the Boomers. Once there were three mandatory dialogues. The guard at the gate, Raquel, and Pearl. However, they didn't really matter since we wouldn't be during their quest, so we headed straight to Loyal's place. Loyal doesn't share a backstory like the other two, so all I have to do here is say hi and that ought to do it. Before leaving his place, I leveled up again, reaching level 5. I distributed all my points into speech, stealth, and lockpick. Once outside, Raul shared the final part of his tragic backstory, and by the end of it, he said it might be time to give up the gunslinger lifestyle and just be a mechanic, leaving me to do the shooting. That's when the speed check kicked in. Luckily, I had the necessary speech to convince him not to abandon his guns and to continue on his gunslinger path. He even got a new outfit. Nice touch, buddy. We fast traveled back to the strip and made our way to the tops. After getting through another mandatory conversation, I leveled up again, hitting level 6. Deciding where to allocate my points was tricky, but I went with lockpick and speech. My perk choice here was Ferocious Loyalty, which increases companion resistance to damage if my health drops below 50%. After that, we managed to convince Benny to head into the presidential suite by himself. Once there, I figured it was finally time for Raul to get his revenge. After all, it was Benny who shot him in the head. Oh, but I forgot Raul had his gun confiscated. No matter though, this old ghoul still had plenty of fight left in his radioactive bones. And Raul seemed pretty happy. I grabbed everything Benny had and gave his pistol Maria to Raul, thinking that maybe he would use it. But he didn't. Then we proceeded to meet Yes Man, talking to him just enough to start the quest of taking over the strip and meeting all the other tribes. The first tribe we tried to deal with was the White Glove Society. At the time, I thought that the little mess under the screen meant I had completed the quest and could leave the casino. Yeah, I had to return later. Vopes gave Raul Caesar's gift, allowing him free passage to Cottonwood Cove. After that, we visited the Gamora Casino. This time we got the correct completion message and left. Oh, by the way, all these casinos have mandatory dialogues with whoever is greeting you. Next, we fast traveled to Hidden Valley and played along until they released us from captivity. Instead of meeting the NCR soldier inside the bunker, I waited a couple hours until he stepped out. I then followed his footsteps until I found him sneaking around the NCR prison. The collar didn't explode because I didn't wander too far from Hidden Valley. Once he removed my collar, I knew the Brotherhood would show up, but Raul was there to save the day. Right? Yeah, Raul left the fight, leaving the poor soldier fend for himself. I'm not sure if it was my sneak skill or if the Brotherhood soldiers were having too much fun with Dobson there, but they seemed to forget about me. So I carefully snuck my way out. As soon as the game said I was hidden, I checked to see where I was, and he was pretty damn far. No problem, I just fast traveled back to Freeside to get him back. At the time, I thought Freeside was the fastest route to Red Rock Canyon, forgetting that Good Springs route would have been much quicker. It was still a chill journey though, only a couple of fiends and a gecko attacked us along the way. We arrived at Red Rock Canyon and I wandered around until the message popped up letting me know I could head back to Yes Man. But before returning to the strip, we fast traveled back to the 188 trading post. From there, we made our way to Camp Golf to grab the key card. Honestly, I thought the NCR Rangers might attack us after what Raul did. You know, holding a grudge. But nope, they're pretty chill. I guess what happens in my carry stays in my carry. Once I grabbed the key card, I decided to pay Mr. House a visit. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring Raul up. So I went up alone. I avoided eye contact with Mr. House since he wasn't really a mandatory conversation. And then I proceeded to head down to his text dungeon. And turns out you can disable his cerebral cortex or whatever it is called without even talking to him. At this point, I leveled up to level 8, I maxed out my speech skill and picked the comprehension perk, which is especially useful if you rely on magazines, as it grants additional skill points. To test it out, I used the GC journal I got from Andy. Normally it gives 3 permanent points in medicine, but with the comprehension perk it gave me 4 instead. Pretty neat. Afterwards, I took a quick nap to restore my health, then I headed to the casino, looting everything inside in search of items to help me for the rest of the game. I grabbed anything and everything, especially my favorites, Turbo and Buffalo. Outside the Lucky 38, Emily Orto coerced me to talk to her, but I finished the dialogue as quickly as I could. After that, we fast traveled to Novak, and from there we made our way to Cottonwood Cove. Get attacked by the usual local wildlife every now and then. Luckily, I stumbled across a house that had steam packs and other healing items. At Cottonwood Cove, I attempted some clever maneuvers to avoid confrontation, but I could outrun the guard who asked me about my business there. After that, we took the boat to the fort to meet Caesar. Since companions aren't allowed inside the tent, I met Baldy alone, but I kept telling him I should be going. To finish the dialogue as fast as possible, really. I know I could have avoided the whole conversation with Baldy by refusing to give my stuff to the guard and triggering the entire fort to attack me, but I didn't think Raul would go for that, really. Let's save that strategy from Boone beats Fallout New Vegas, shall we? Down at the weather station, since Mr. House was in control and the yes-man wasn't plugged in yet, there was no one to force me into another conversation. Raul was handling himself surprisingly well against security forces down there. His damage output was higher than expected. Once we reached the control room, we successfully upgraded the securitrons. Then I returned to Yes Man to let him know he could take over the Lucky 38. I also told him to ignore all the factions except for the White Glove Society. Because of my mistake in not paying attention earlier, I had to go back and talk to Mortimer. At the Ultra Lux, all I did was ask Mortimer about their secret recipe for the post-nuclear soup. Once the message popped up, I went straight to meet the Yes Man, the Lucky 38. With the last faction out of the way, our friendly emoji robot here showed me a grand presentation of what Raul's metal arm could do. Since Raul the Ghoul couldn't get within 10 feet of the president, gee, I wonder why. Yes Man sent us to the substation before the final battle at Hoover Dam. At the dam, Raul shared his thoughts on our situation, thank you, and the battle began. Sure, the security runs were doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and I do mean a lot, but that old Mexican gunslinger dude was downright impressive. Once inside the dam, to avoid unnecessary extra lines of dialogue, I just entered the room, forcing the ancient soldiers to attack me, leaving Raul to easily take them out. Damn, he's good. At level 10, you can really see how useful it was, wasting my freaking points on lockpick for a gun I never even got. Okay. So I decided to put all my points into medicine instead and went to toughness perk. When Yes Man gave us the choice, Raul and I agreed on sending the power to the fort. I also grabbed the NCR power armor for later, since you don't really need power armor training for those. After powering up the Securitrons, I decided to wear the power armor and made our way upstairs, where, might I add, the Securitrons did most of the work. At Laniustron camp, things were relatively easy at first. When I first met Leggett, I chose the dialogue option that ended up the conversation as quickly as possible, and things got ugly. Turns out, fighting a bloodthirsty man with equally bloodthirsty bodyguard was too much for Raul. They knocked him out cold, and I spent a solid 5 minutes running around, using every item in my inventory, but Raul never got back up. At some point, I even used a cat eye, don't ask me why, and I ran all the way back to the gates, hoping I could exit the arena and reset Raul, but it didn't work. On my second try, I figured that fighting so many soldiers at once was a bad idea, so I used my speed skills to pass every speed check until I got the option to challenge Lanius to a one-on-one fight. Well, 1-on-1 if you count Raul and the Securitron as one. Things were much easier this way. I ran around like a headless chicken, sometimes using my body as a shield or a distraction so Raul could land a hit. And yay! Raul did it, everybody. He killed the Legate. With the Securitron's help, but it still counts. I grabbed Lance's mask and gave it to Raul. He absolutely deserved it. Back at the gates, I presented General Oliver to Raul's army, cutting straight to the chase, and let Raul finish him off. Afterward, we talked to Yes Man, and with that, Raul finished the game. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Laniustron. Until next time.
Well, I found some code snippets in one of Mr. House's databanks that will let me, reprogram my personality to be a little more assertive.